Hello. Welcome to Leanna Walden's channel, Sex Discovery Channel. Today we're going to get into role play, sexual role play. What is this? How do I get started? And some tips on what you can do as a couple to really spice up your relationship. Now, I wanted to do a piece about this live because there's a lot of information to talk about, and I've had people tell me that they just don't know where to start to get their partner to come on board to start exploring. They are scared to talk to their partner. They're not sure what their partner's going to do or say. I've talked a lot about MFMs and monogamous activities, but role play is such a great direction you can go as a couple because it doesn't have to be non-monogamous. It means you don't have to bring in other people. You can just do it yourself. I think this is a great pathway to start when you're a couple that has been doing the same thing. You've been together for a long time and you need something different. You need something to spice up your relationship. You need something fun, playful, take you on a journey, something unique that will really bring both of you back into something unique that will really bring both of you back into, coming alive again in your intimate and sexual relationship. It's easy to approach your partner about doing role play as well because you can just go into the role if you want, or you can discuss it and come up with a particular role play that you would like to do together. So if you're watching me, let me know where you're from. Just put in the chat where you're from so I can see who's here from where. Your name would be nice too, but just tell me where you're from. Where are you from? Um, I have a gift for everybody, and if you're interested in that, just stick around. I'm going to talk about in that minute. In a minute, my name is Leanna Walden, and I'm a sexuality and relationship wellness specialist and sexual energy healer. So this is my job. This is what I do. I work with singles. I work with couples, and I help people expand in their sexual lives, find ways that they can open up their sexual being. And then there's, of course, trauma and repressed states and all that stuff. But we're not going to get into that today because you are coming here and listening to me because you want to know about role play. And role play is something that I think if you're in even if you're in a new relationship, but definitely if you're in a long-term relationship, role play can be really, really exciting to get the juices stirred up. This is what I incorporated in my relationship around the 8-year mark, I would say, when, it was getting kind of boring, the same old thing, just the two of us. We had both had sex with each other for thousands, but many times over 8 years. So we needed something different, something new, something spicy. And we were both like not sure what that was or what it was going to turn into. And I came up with an idea. We both have fantasies. So, role play. What's role play? First of all, before I get into an experience that I've had, and I will talk about a few, but role play, sexual role play, is when you sexualize the everyday or you sexualize situations that already exist, but you want to, sexualize them with your partner, make them sexy, make them make sort of the connection. So it's a really great foray before you move into MFMs or MFFs or non-monogamous activity or swinging or parties or anything like that, because you get a chance to actually still be with your partner and then sleep with other people. I mean, you're sleeping with other people because if you're going to be sleeping with these different characters, it will be like sleeping with other people. So it's kind of fun to try it out. It's fun you know, if you don't even want to go into other kinds of forays. But this is part of the adult playground. And I love role play. I don't think I can have, meaning that I need to transform into something else. I have to get out the work mode of who I am, the house mode, the mother mode, the wife mode of Leanna, and go into a different character, something that I create. So you start by each choosing a character and you create that character. And then you come together and you play out the character. So it's kind of like you and your partner are making these little short skits, these little dramas, these little porno movies just for the two of you. But they're, live and they're part of your life. But you're going into a place that's kind of risque and different, and you're becoming someone different. Now, the play acting is what is the most fun of all, because you you start to like get into the character, and then you sort of open up parts of you that maybe haven't been opened before, that are connected to that character. Because let's say you're going to be a teacher and a student, the most kind of traditional role play, and probably the most popular and most fun. The teacher is the power, the power source, the power, the dominant, and the student is coming in, for example, coming in because she wants or he wants to get good marks and just not getting them. And how do I get them? What can I do? Is there anything I can do that can convince you to get me good marks? So it's kind of a taboo. A lot of the scenarios are taboo like. I mean, there's even more sort of taboo. We'll get into that in a minute. But you're playing scenarios that exist in real life, and you sexualize them, and you're really going into it, hopefully really really getting into it and really loving it and have fun with it. So um yeah, sexualizing scenarios. And you can also do role play in sexualizing just everyday activities. So it may be something like, your husband's going to go out and mow the lawn. Well, you can sexualize it. You can kind of role play it so that it's not just, you have to mow the lawn. Like, it's really long. It's taking forever. And he's like, oh God, I got to mow the lawn. And the same thing that you've been doing forever and ever and ever, but you sexualize it, and your wife can be, you can pretend that you're coming over to mow the lawn, and, "Oh, hi, you're gonna mow the lawn today? Great, I'm so happy. I'll go make you some lemonade." And then, just get into the tease and the flirt of the whole thing, just to change things up again, change things up, make things more spicy and fun. So where do you actually start? Like, what role play can the 2 of us do? And I've got a little comment here. Have you ever seen the sexy mud scenes in the fantasy movie Never Ending Story? A boy wearing a magic necklace gets lost and then walks through knee deep mud. It's so squiddy and stinky, gets so wet in my. I've not seen that, but um, mud play, role play, maybe if you want to do that. So you want to start by connecting into the things that you already fantasize about, and often we fantasize about. I don't know, we might fantasize about work things. We might fantasize about non-work things. We might fantasize about, um, possibility of certain things happening with certain, professional kind of people. We might fantasize ideas with family. Fantasy. If you want to sort of start with the family, the fantasy kind of idea, and then you want to discuss, like, what is it that we want to go into here? What take and play out so that we can have a lot of fun with it. Um, um, find a character that both of you are going to agree upon, a scenario that both of you are going to agree upon, so that you can have some time to organize what it is you want to do for that character. And I would suggest choose a different name for your character, and each individually work on, who is this character? This character is not you, but it is you. So who are you as this character? And take away your regular kind of characteristics and add some new kinds of things. So if you tend to be a soft-spoken kind of a person generally, then go into something that's a bit more direct and forward, and practice that little bit, that part that's different, that's part of you, but different than what you're normally like. Or if you're already very outspoken and loud, then you can be more sort of sensual and shy maybe, and play up that part. And your partner will barely recognize you. And they will get very turned on by it. Whoa, like this is my partner who I am actually very attracted to and love very much. And now I am going to play out a little game with them. If you're watching right now, have you ever done any kind of role play before? And if you have, maybe put in the chat what scenario that you played out to give other people some ideas of what they could go into. If you would like a list of ideas, then also put in the chat, yes, list, please, or yes, just yes, and I will give you the link to get that list of a whole bunch of different role play ideas so that you can. I don't know what I want to do. I'm not sure. My fantasies. I have a fantasy of a maid coming in, and then I seduce the maid, or I have a fantasy of someone who delivers something to the door, and then we do we get sexy inside the house. It's just something that turns me on. Or I have a fantasy with a doctor or a nurse in a hospital. That might be fun. You can play out any of these. Or you could take it right to, like, I have the fantasy to be a queen, and I have a sex slave that I direct around, or a king and the sex slave. So lots of different possibilities that you can play around with. So get my list. Yes, comment yes, and I will send you the list. So you can also, if you come together as a couple, you can just each write down, sit down, get a piece of paper, and write down all the fantasies that you think would be fun to play out in a role play scenario. And then you can switch lists and see if there's any role play scenarios that are the same. And I would say go for it right there. That's what you want to do. You want to find something that you're both going to agree upon, that you're both going to get turned on by, and that you're both going to have a lot of fun doing. So I know the hardest thing for most people and um, is actually telling their partner that this is something that they would like to do, that they are excited to try something like this. I know that it's harder even to say, "Listen, honey, I would like to have an MFM," or "Honey, let's go to a swinging party." So this is actually not involving other people. So I know that from clients that I work with, it's something that is a nice entry into playing around, trying something different, sleeping with other people because you're actually doing it together. So you can approach your partner and say, "Hey, like, want to try something different?" Or you can even decide that, like, I'm going to tell you one example that about in my own life, the first one that I ever had where I was just like, "Oh, I can't. We need to do something different. I've had this fantasy for a long time." And it was kind of like this babysitter fantasy. So one night, the kids were in bed asleep, and I put on sort of like a sexy little skirt and top and a big coat over top of it. I went outside to the front door and I knocked on the door and knocked on the door. It took him a while to answer. I don't know why. He was watching TV. Finally, he came to the door. And I said, "Hi." He's like, "Hi." I didn't know what. "Oh, your wife called me and she said that you needed a babysitter and that, you needed someone to watch the kids. And I'm here. I'm here to take over and to help you in any way that I can." And he was like, "Oh, oh, oh." Like it took him a second, 3 or 4 looks, and then he kind of, "Okay, come in, come in. What's your name?" "Oh, my name's Candy, and yeah, and so I just sort of get got into it, and we would respond off of each other. He just loved it, thought it was fantastic. I was having fun with it, and we just drew it out and played around with it. And yeah, we realized that, wow, this is something that we want to continue. And that was the first kind of beginning. And it just kept going and going after that because, you get kind of tired just being in your same energy. And sometimes it's hard to switch into that feminine energy that you have deep inside of you, and for your partner to switch into his masculine energy. So this kind of helps you get there. Say, well, I'm going to be this young little babysitter, or I'm going to be this, sexy sex slave, or I'm going to be, there's always that hooker fantasy. I'm going to be the hooker that shows up at the door. You can take that characteristics that you think go with that character, and become that within yourself, and your partner can take on the same thing. So if you're masculine and feminine, you will naturally fall into that more feminine role, and he'll fall into the masculine role. Or maybe you want to become more masculine and he becomes more feminine. Whatever the decision is, it helps you connect into your sexual energy. It helps get the energy moving between the two of you. It is so much fun, and playful. That is the most important part, is that we need to play. We need to play in our sexual relationships. We need to have fun. We need to pretend that we're like kids again, but we're adults in the playground, right? And the playground happens to be our intimate and sexual lives. So when you think of it like that, you have your regular everyday connection with each other, taking care of the kids, taking care of the house, going to work, doing the same thing as buying the groceries. So the role play is one aspect of the adult playground that I highly suggest you give it a try. Um, Now, there's also a lot of very taboo things that you can play around with. There are things that are connected to, like, this idea of daddy and little girl, and mummy and little boy, or aunties and uncles, and brother and sister. It's not necessarily that you have had that fantasy even, but it's taboo, and the taboo is exciting. The taboo in itself is stimulating, because you're doing something that's like, ooh, like I remember the first time we played the daddy little girl, the daddy girl, naughty girl, I guess was naughty girl. And I was just like, oh, I don't know. He really wanted to do it. And I'm like, well, I'm kind of turned on by this. Yeah, it's a good idea. Let's try. But it was just like, daddy, I call him daddy. I don't know. But then I was like, okay, let go. It has nothing to do with your dad, nothing to do with your family at all, or your relationship with him. It's just going into a scenario with what would be ideal for me now as an adult, becoming the little girl, and him being my daddy. And I'm going to be the naughty good girl. So I'm just going to be a very different kind of character than I ever was, even ever. And he became a very, very different kind of daddy, because now he's like the daddy of an adult role play girl, little girl, right? That is also a super, super popular one, and that can take all sorts of variations that you can go into, and it actually allows you to explore your multidimensionality. So that means the other parts of you that exist that maybe don't always have that opportunity. Like, that gave me the opportunity to explore my younger self, my younger self. I mean, I play the teenager, I play the younger girl. Um, and I would just, become young and little and funny and ding, 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 and then it's sexualized. So it's taboo. It's taboo, of course, but these taboo things can be fun, because the desire that we have feeds on excitement and fear. When you bring them two together, excitement and fear, it's like very powerful, right? Um, the power plays that we can create in role play are also something that you can look into, where it's a dominant and sub kind of scenarios. That's again the teacher and the school, the school student, the boss, the employee, the doctor, the patient. Playing out those kinds of roles can be really